Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Huge thanks to those of you that used and shared the travel card spreadsheet from my first video. It looks like a lot of people found it to be really useful, which is awesome. If you haven't tried it out yet, please do check it out. I think it's a pretty easy way to figure out which travel cards are best for you based on your own spending habits. The spreadsheet takes advantage of the fact that points earned from these travel cards can be transferred out to airline and hotel partners, which can get you much more value, many more cents per point, than the standard 1 cent per point that you get by redeeming them for statement credit or booking through the bank's travel portal. But one of the most common questions I got from people using the spreadsheet was, what's the best way to actually use the transfer partners effectively? What's the strategy for getting the most value out of the points? So I thought it would be a good idea to make a video about this. It can get a little complicated, so it's worth breaking it down step by step. So in this video, I'm going to talk about transfer partners for Capital One, Citi, and American Express. I'll make a separate video soon about Chase, since they're a bit unique and appeal to a slightly different audience. But for these three banks, here's a list of their transfer partners organized into a Venn diagram. Feel free to screenshot this if you want to refer to it later. Looking at this list, the immediate first impression that some people have is, there are like no domestic airlines on here. Like, okay, Amex has Delta and Hawaiian, and they and Citi have JetBlue, but that's it. Capital One doesn't even have any. If you're primarily a domestic traveler, you might not even recognize a lot of the names on this list. So what's the point in having a bunch of transfer partners if they're all airlines that you'll never fly? There are two important things to keep in mind here. The first is that, in general, it is true that economy-level domestic travel is not really a good source of point redemptions through transfer partners. Thinking just about flights for the moment, I'll come back to hotels at the end. If we categorize them into domestic versus international and economy versus business or first, the best value for points is going to come from the most expensive flights, so business and first international travel. Economy domestic flights will typically have the worst value. That doesn't mean that the value is always bad. In fact, sometimes it can be pretty good. It's just that it's not usually as good as more expensive options, and sometimes can even be worse than just paying the cash price. But the second thing to keep in mind is that while there aren't a lot of domestic carriers on this list, there is, importantly, good representation of all three of the major airline alliances. And this is the key to high-value point redemptions. The color coding of names in this chart tells you what alliance the airline is a part of. Yellow names are members of Star Alliance, which also includes all of these other partners. Magenta names are members of the One World Alliance, which includes these airlines, and cyan names are members of SkyTeam, which includes these. So the key point is that if you can transfer your points to a member of one of these alliances, you will usually be able to use those points to book a flight with any other member of the same alliance. And you'll notice that the three major US airlines, United, American, and Delta, are all members of these alliances. So if you want to book a United flight, for example, you don't need to transfer points to United itself. You can transfer points to any other Star Alliance member, like Avianca or Singapore Airlines, and book a United flight through them. So let's go through an example of how this works in practice. The first thing you'll want to do when trying to book a flight with points is search the route you want to fly on something like Google Flights. Let's say we want to fly from San Francisco to Maui for a week in August. We can see that there are flights from Alaska, United, and Hawaiian that are all pretty good. So let's make a note of the cost of these flights so that we can refer to it later when it's time to decide if this is a good use of points. Now we want to pick one of these flights and see what the point redemption options look like for it. Ideally, you'll want to check all of the available options here, but for this video, I'll just focus on United. So the next step is to find award availability through United. You can do this either by searching United's website directly, although you'll need to create an account if you haven't done that already. Or alternatively, you can use something like Expert Flyer to find availability, which is a really useful tool that can search many different airlines pretty fast and reliably, though they do charge a small fee for their service. In this case, United's website is pretty capable, so I don't really feel the need to use Expert Flyer, but for other kinds of airlines, you may want to consider that as an option. If you don't find award space for the flight you're looking for, then you'll need to move on to a different carrier, so try Alaskan or Hawaiian and see if they have something. But if you do, then the next step is to find the right transfer partner to use to book that flight, given the cost of their award bookings. So in this case, we can see that there is award availability for the flight we're looking for. So since United is a Star Alliance partner, we'll need to look up the cost for booking this flight through any of the yellow names on this list. For a lot of these partners, you can just look up something like Singapore Airlines Star Alliance Award Chart, and you'll see a chart of how many points it would take to book a Star Alliance flight through Singapore Airlines. For a desired flight, one that originates in North America and arrives in Hawaii, this chart shows that the round-trip cost is 35,000 miles for economy, plus around $40 in taxes and fees. Since we were able to find flights for around $350 in cash anyways, this isn't a very good redemption. It would be less than 1 cent per point, so you'd be better off paying in cash. But there are other Star Alliance partners we can search too. Unfortunately, not all of the airlines are going to be as straightforward as this. They might have a dynamic pricing structure rather than a fixed award chart, so they may require searching for the flight on the partner airline's website itself. But for the flight we're looking at, I happen to already know where the best redemption will be, and that's through Turkish Airlines, which is a partner of both Capital One and Citi. They charge 7,500 miles one way for any United Award flight within the US, including Hawaii. So we can go to the Turkish Airlines website, create an account if you don't have one already, and search for a Star Alliance award booking. Turkish happens to have a separate search engine for Star Alliance flights, which you can get to by clicking on Miles Transaction up at the top under your name, and then click Book Now under the Star Alliance award ticket header. We can then search for our flight, and we see that, it's only 7,500 miles one way, or 15,000 round trip. So that's over 2 cents per point for this redemption, which is pretty good. Keep in mind that if you don't find the flight you're looking for on the partner's website, that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't available. If you already confirm that there is award availability for that flight through Expert Flyer or the carrier themselves, then you should be able to call the partner airline's phone line and ask the agent to book the flight for you. They will often have more availability than what you can see just on the website. Once you confirm the flight is available, you can transfer the points from your bank to the airline's loyalty program using your account info and book the flight. Most transfers go through instantly, but for those that don't, you can sometimes ask a phone agent to put an award ticket on hold until the points arrive in your account. And there you have it, an award flight booked for 2 cents per point. If that seems like a lot of work, it's because it kind of is. But especially for international and business or first-class flights, going through this process can end up saving you thousands of dollars, and once you get used to the procedure, it gets easier over time. Also, for a lot of the most popular travel routes, many other people have already done the work of figuring out the optimal redemption strategy for their own travel. So there are a lot of resources out there on websites like the Points Guy and Upgraded Points and 1 Mile at a Time and others that will tell you exactly what transfer partners to use for your trip, which can save you a lot of time. You can also use tools like Award Hacker and PointMe to simplify the searching process. PointMe even offers a concierge service that will do literally all of the work for you and find you the best redemption for your points. It's not cheap, but it could be well worth it if you don't have much time on your hands. You can also ask for advice on a forum like Flyer Talk or Mark Plymail's Discord. Your fellow travelers are happy to help you if they can. I'll put links to all of these resources in the description below. One last thing worth mentioning, some of the transfer partners on this list, the ones shown in gray, are hotel chains. In most cases, you won't get much value out of transferring out to these hotels, but there are 2 noteworthy exceptions here. The first is budget choice hotels like Quality Inn and Comfort Suites, redeemed with points transferred from Citi. Even though all 3 of these banks can transfer to Choice, Citi is the only one that offers a 1-to-2 transfer ratio, meaning 1 Citi point actually transfers into 2 Choice points. That means if you can find a Choice booking for around 1 cent per point, you'd actually be getting 2 cents per Citi point by transferring them out. So that's pretty good value. Similarly, Amex transfers to Hilton at a 1-to-2 rate. Budget-level Hilton properties are pretty much never going to be priced at 1 cent per point. They're usually around half a cent per point. So even with this boosted transfer rate, that won't really be a good redemption. But you can find 1 cent per point bookings at the high end of Hilton's portfolio, such as their Conrad and Waldorf Astoria properties. And that includes their properties in aspirational places like the Maldives and Bora Bora. So in that case, you'll be getting 2 cents per Amex point for those bookings. And on top of that, when you book Hilton resorts with points, you don't have to pay any resort fees, and you get the 5th night free when booking 4 nights or more, which increases the value of this redemption even further. And that's about it. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And if you know anyone else that might benefit from this guide, please share this with them. Until next time, thanks for watching.